medically I couldn't fly anymore, but I had an opportunity to get a degree and serve the Air Force in another fashion as an industrial psychologist.
Wow, this hit differently.
That is when I knew that this was the Lord.
That's a good question.
I figure if I do it, it'll force me to learn it.
Well, that's why I know him.
The Scene with Sean Ury, Behind the Book, featuring today's book.
So hello folks, and once again, thank you for stepping into the scene with me, Sean Uy. And today on the show, we have a very special guest. Basically a friend of mine. We've known each other for quite some time now, about a year or so. And well, the story brings you back to medieval times. So it's really fun, really lighthearted, and it's a story for all ages. And it's really cool, especially with the art style of the first book. And we're going to be talking about the second book also later in this episode. So the book that we're talking about today is entitled Mary and Sir Edward, and it's written by an amazing author. His name is Stewart Monti. Mr. Monti, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sean. It's my honor to be here.
Awesome. So Mr. Monti, yes, as I mentioned in the intro, well, Mary and Sir Edward, very unique, especially with the way you've written it, right? I don't think there are a lot of books out there, if not any book that's out there that is like Mary and Sir Edward. But before we get into the book, I want to talk about the initial stages, right? Because as a book as unique as Mary and Sir Edward, you know, I'm very curious as to why you wanted to write this, how it came to be. Please share with the folks at home what was the inspiration? You know, what was that initial spark like?
Well, you could almost call Mary and Sir Edward a romantasy. A little bit of romance to it, a fantasy to it, that originated as a fantasy poem about a young 12-year-old girl in the 11th century, time of Britain, the last Viking invasion, 1166. King Hardrador took his Norse men into King Harold's area, looking to carry off whatever they could gather, and King Harold had to gather up his people to resist the Vikings. And Mary's father, as one of the Brits, had to go off with the king to resist the Vikings. And this is a story how Mary was left at the farm. Her father told her to hold down the fort, and she was a resolute, capable girl with a lot of moxie. She was the one to be able to do this with her younger brother, 4-year-old Matt, and her mother. And it was a dire time with all the men fighting in this war, and a drought, and a difficult time indeed. And it was just a difficult time that she's out in this cornfield hoeing corn, and she is thinking about her father, and her mind is 1,000 miles away, and suddenly she spins around not knowing what she's going to find, and there is a knight on a very exhausted horse, and he is as exhausted as the horse is, and he's wounded. She can tell that in the heartbeat, and he's wearing the king's colors, the same markings that her father wore to go off and fight with the king. And the next thing you know, the knight falls off of the horse and just lies there. And she immediately thinks, well, this man is wearing the garb of the king that my father is fighting for. So my duty is to take care of this man. So she whistles for her brother to get the cart, the barrow, and with difficulty they get the knight into the wheelbarrow and they get him inside, and with their mother they get the armor off of him and they cleanse and bind his wounds, which are significant, and he's unconscious for 2 days, and finally after taking care of him, he had been quite severely wounded. He does regain consciousness, and at first he wonders where he is, and he's doubtful. He doesn't know who to trust, but they get his confidence back, and he lets in that he has to get back to the king, that he had been mumbling some while he was unconscious, and they had detected some that he has some vital information about the state of the battle that's going on that he had been coming back from, and also about the life of the king that he has to get to help take care of. And over a few days, while the knight recovers, they learn more about him and more about this message that he is bearing, and to get back. But the story develops that others who were responsible for his wounded state in the first place are still searching for him to sort of finish off the job. And here's again where Mary's wits come to the forefront, that she dissuades these people from a Lord Godfrey, who is the man who taxes them and exploits them to begin with, and is against the king, and was searching for Sir Edward, as they learned his name was, and she pins off these bad elements that are searching for Sir Edward and trying to help the Vikings out that Sir Lord Godfrey is working with. And the story goes on that it has also developed into a screenplay and elevated the story a little bit more than just the book Mary and Sir Edward. And the book Mary and Sir Edward was also developed as a narrative, poetic book in poetry. It's just 20 pages and 1,000 words. But it finishes that Sir Edward does get back to the king, and her father does get back from the war, and Mary, in the end, the battle is over for the British. They drive the Vikings away, and Sir Edward makes it worthwhile for Mary's father for the help that they gave them, and it goes on to show what a girl can do, a person who is able to help someone and without really realizing the significance of one's actions, how a person in the 11th century can take care of a wounded soldier, not knowing how the information that they might be holding can turn the tide of a battle, and change the course of a war. And if this is prevalent in the 11th century, it could be prevalent in the even today.
Right.
Even today, if a column of tanks was advancing, or the minefield is being laid out, and a wounded soldier has information that can be prevalent in taking care of something like this, and a girl is willing to risk her life and the life of her family in helping a person with this kind of information. So, in the screenplay, there's more information in a significantly fuller story.
Right.
That she is assisted by the blacksmith's son Jacob, and he helps Sir Edward in his escape, and Mary, in her interaction with Sir Edward, feels a bit of a romantic relationship developing.
Oh, wow.
Because she was taken with him right from the beginning, because he is a very attractive man, you might say, and in his position. But to be pulled by this idea of a romantic relationship with a nobleman and a noble way of life versus her relationship with Jacob and the village way of life that she has always known is pulling her in two ways. So we have a story that is the battle up at the front lines with the Vikings against the British army resisting with sword and bow and arrow, something out of Braveheart, and then something out of Far From the Madding Crowd in the romantic pull between two different ways of life.
But yes,
it's something a story that could be further developed, we might say.
Right.
And so all of this came from fantasy poems, and there are other fantasy poems that I'm working on also. His Donkey Neath Him Trotting, the Orc in the Future, and the City of Dungeons, this kind of thing. But my son had said, Dad, you could take this one and maybe make a book out of it. And I was able to find a small book printer, book development in Greater Raleigh. I'm in Sanford, North Carolina. And in 6 months, it was all it took to get it all online to Amazon and Kindle. And it's there now, available.
But Mr. Monti, before we continue, I gotta ask, because everything you shared, you basically laid it all out there, right? And it's such a unique story, especially with the Brits, the Vikings, 11th century girl saving, a king or a noble person, right? I gotta ask you, where does your influence in terms of writing come from? Where does the inspiration come from? Because this isn't a typical story that you just write, on a whim. So what started you to, or what caused you to start writing Mary and Sir Edward?
Well, I've been writing poetry since high school, and really, this was just another poem. As I mentioned, the fantasy poems were a way that I was giving ideas to my son and his friends who were Dungeons and Dragons gamers.
Awesome.
They would get together and play game around, and I would give them ideas that they could maybe work with, something that I could do. And this was one that developed into a story. And it was, for me, basically an easy thing to do. And I would write poetry for my social groups and prayer groups, and distribute them in booklet form. And my first book, 135 Poems for Today, was published in 2017. And this one, though smaller in actual size, has generated a significantly more, a greater amount of interest. This is Mary and Sir Edward. And it's billed as a children's book,
Right.
but in the narrative poetry that it entails, really it is much more than that. And in the story that it evolves, the idea of a young girl helping a knight in medieval time, and of a girl or any young person helping a soldier or helping a person, and in the way that they are doing that, not realizing the much greater effect that they are having,
So
that the story represents.
that being said, Mr. Monti, because Mary and Sir Edward, like you said, narrative poetry, children's book, screenplay, there's so much time, there's so much money, there's so much effort that's gone into this, right? That being said, what do you want it to achieve? And, when are you able to just be able to sit back and say, okay, I'm done. I've achieved what I've needed to achieve. When would that situation be?
Well, I have been fortunate to work with a few very good bookstores. I can't be too specific, but the book has and is going to be well publicized at some very prominent book fairs, Frankfurt, London, Beijing, and it will receive a lot of hard copy and digital advertising. And at this point, I think my best bet is to just wait back and see what happens.
Right.
Also, there is a sequel to the story.
Tell the folks.
That, as Mary assists Sir Edward, and then in the end of the story, we are made aware that she is getting married, but we don't know to whom. In the screenplay, it takes it a step further, and she does wed Jacob the blacksmith's son.
Oh, wow.
And the two of them do, the story goes on, have a child, and they name it Hillary, and it's a little girl, and the screenplay describes a close-up of this little baby's eyes with a intense, purposeful look in them. And in the sequel, Hillary and Sir Edward, Hillary becomes also 16 years old, and she is an only child of the parents Mary and Jacob, and Jacob is the blacksmith, and the two of them have striven to raise her with skills that they feel a young girl would best protect herself with in that age back then. And this would include blacksmithing skills and horsemanship, and through skills that Sir Edward has taught to Jacob, sword play, and Mary's cooking and sewing, and many other such skills. And Sir Edward is treats her like an uncle and visits the family often. Right. And one day he's on such a visit, and Mary is breaking a horse. Hillary is breaking a horse out in the corral. Yeah. And Sir Edward is musing that he is looking for a page, and he hasn't been able to find one. And Mary says, well, there is your excellent candidate right out there. Yeah. And he says, well, yes, you are probably right, but she is a girl. And Mary says, well, you could hide that fact, and it would not be difficult to do, and you would have the best page you could find. And the story develops that he is persuaded to take Hillary to be his page, and she does hide her gender, and she, as it turns out, does excel to be a page in a number of different ways. And this is the 12th century now, that King Henry II is the king, and she goes through a number of different adventures of sorts, and even defends King Henry II when his sons try to overtake him and put him out, and that's historically correct. Yeah. But her defending him is maybe a little poetic license. In so doing, he actually does make her a knight. Wow. And this goes to show, as in both books, in effect, goes to show what a girl or what any young person can do, much as Moana and Mulan go to show a young person can do if they are determined and set their minds to it.
So you highlight the fact that they are young people who set their minds and are very determined that they can do anything, right, Mr. Monti? But what do you think would be, other than that, obviously, right? If you were to only choose one lesson or one piece of advice that you could actually give to all of the viewers and listeners at home right now, in context of Mary and Sir Edward and Hillary and Sir Edward, if you could only give one piece of advice, please, what would it be?
If you set your mind to it, you can do it. I think that's what the two books together say. And even if you don't really realize the ramifications of your actions, sometimes your actions reach much further than what it is you are actually trying to accomplish.
Awesome. With give us a little snippet of what what you're thinking of when you or what you were thinking of rather when you were trying to basically infuse this storyline with that lesson. Why does this lesson or why is this lesson, sorry, so important to you, and how does this play a part in your daily life, Mr. Monti?
Well, I cannot complain. I've been very fortunate in my life. I am a retired Air Force major.
Wow.
I'm a pilot. I flew C-130E models. I have 2,000 hours in the cockpit, and I flew all over the world. And with my wife, I lived all over the world and all over the United States. And after retiring, I found that writing poetry is really what I liked to do. And we have, with my son and with my wife, we were very fortunate. And the poems I've written, and I could read a couple of them if we thought that were fitting. But I believe that you can pretty much do anything that you want to do.
So
Again, with the two books I referenced, the two stories.
well, Mr. Monti, I have to ask you, with someone with such a decorated career as yours, right? As you've just mentioned, how does one go about life? Because let's face it, right? You only figured out you like poetry or enjoy writing poetry after everything, right? But how did you discover that out, Mr. Monti? What did you just start writing out of nowhere, or please tell us?
Well, in writing Mary and Sir Edward, and they wanted a screenplay out of that. So the gentleman who wrote the screenplay said he wanted a sequel, and I wrote the sequel for that, Hilary and Sir Edward, in one night. So I admit, I guess I have a bit of a gift for the poetry. And I mentioned that these were fantasy poems, and Mary and Sir Edward is a fantasy poem, a romantasy poem, for the way that works. But if some fantasy poems might be a little more if it's fantasy oriented, let me read you one of these in How Keen is the Edge. That goes, how keen is the edge of an orc demon's sword, for it's far more important than giving his word, which orcs rarely stand by, whatever they say, so the edge of their swords, if they live through the day. He tries not to blurt out words much to offend, yet often the blade's his defense in the end. He may lick on his wounds and regret what he said, but he sharpens the blade and he takes it to bed.
Wow. Pretty cool. Good job. That's awesome. Miss- Mr. Monty, I gotta ask you, because just before I lose my trail of thought, well, what's the biggest challenge you faced while you were writing Mary and Sir Edward and your sequel, Hilary and Sir Edward? Tell the folk, give us a little bit more of a, because obviously we're not all as gifted as you in terms of writing poetry, but try to give us a glimpse of what difficulty is like for you, Mr. Monty, and how you overcame it.
Moving from one way of life to another, Sean, that I was a pilot, and Anne and I got married, and medically I couldn't fly anymore, but I had an opportunity to get a degree and serve the Air Force in another fashion as an industrial psychologist. So it's the old adage, when one door closes, another door opens. And another one is find the path that works for you. These ways worked for me, and I think they can work for other people also. And if I can read one more poem,
Go ahead.
I think it goes like this. Everybody has a favorite window. Everybody has a favorite view that you take the time to simply gaze from, that you love to make a part of you. Different are the things we have to look at, much the same in how they make us care. Almost always, still there is a window. Almost always, part of us stays there.
Wow.
That speaks to me.
Yeah.
And if it's not one thing, then I believe there's opportunity in another way.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate in that regard. And I believe, if some people call it the Force, I was a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
So
Wow, Mr. Monty, that was very powerful, your last poem. And, before we end the show, can you please tell the folks at home where they can get a copy of Mary and Sir Edward? And I understand Hilary and Sir Edward too is coming out pretty soon, right?
Hilary and Sir Edward hopefully will be out by the middle of March. And it promises to be a good book. I am hopeful. And Mary and Sir Edward is available on Amazon for $13.50 and Kindle for $9.99, and Barnes and Noble also.
Right. And folks at home, please, if you're looking for a really unique and fun read, it's a clean read as well, with a lot of full and hearty life lessons. Pick up a copy of Mr. Monty's Mary and Sir Edward, and soon, as he said, Hilary and Sir Edward too. And Mr. Monty, we just want to say thank you here at the scene for stepping into the scene with us over here. Thank you so much. And to the folks at home, we'll see you in the next scene. Bye-bye.